You know you're frustrated, you know you want to start making changes, but you're not sure how or where. And there's a vulnerability about that. You get comfortable doing what you know, but deep inside you know that you need to progress. You need to grow. Your personal development needs a kick. Hi there, and you're welcome to this episode of the Mind Over Mountains podcast. I'm Máirtín Óg, and today I'm going to ask you some questions to start off with. There's some queries and questions I very often ask clients, but I did a post recently and it got quite a lot of traction. So whatever you're doing, try to relax and just listen and see how you might answer these couple of questions if they come up for you. The first one, and this, by the way, is about what's stopping you making changes to improve your life. The first one is it fear of change? The second one, which comes up quite often, is lack of motivation. Would that be something that would hinder you to make some changes in your life and hold you back? Thirdly, uncertainty about where to start. And many of us struggle with that one. We know we want to make changes. We know there are things and parts of our life that we'd like to change. But we struggle with knowing where to start and how to go about it. And another question, which comes up quite a lot also, is are you feeling overwhelmed by the effort it might take? So, just to go through them again quickly. The first one I had down was fear of change. Are you afraid of change? Have you got comfortable? I find that with a lot of clients. They get comfortable where they are. And if you think about it, it's a really selfish thing to get comfortable, especially if there's a lot of negativity within that comfort, that you're bathing yourself in that negativity space and you're fearful of stepping out, fearful of taking a chance because you're being held back by limiting beliefs and self-doubt. That's where the fear of change comes from. Lack of motivation is another one. Where could you get motivation? Where could you get support? What could you do that would help you take the first few steps? Naturally enough, reaching out to a coach is hugely beneficial because you get the support that you need and you also get the structure. And lastly, you get the accountability. When you're working with me as a coach, there's a huge accountability part of it. We're sharing something where you want to step up. You want to get out of that comfort, that selfish place that you have been, making excuses for not being able to make changes. When you reach out to a coach, that's where you take the first step on your new journey. You're sick and tired of where you are and you want to make some changes. If you're running a business or leading a team and you're unsure, you need a bit of support. It can be very beneficial. You know you're frustrated, you know you want to start making changes, but you're not sure how or where. And there's a vulnerability about that. You get comfortable doing what you know, but deep inside you know that you need to progress. You need to grow. Your personal development needs a kick. feeling overwhelmed by the effort required. If you work with someone who could help you do this, you want to lose a bit of weight, you want to go to the gym, you want to go for a walk, you want to start running, who could help you? Is there someone in your circle that you look up to, that you feel comfortable with? Getting that support is huge. Where I see many clients struggle is where they don't have any support. You need to build an environment around you where there's like-minded people and there's people who are setting goals and working towards them. And if you're in that place where those couple of questions have made you consider how you might take your first steps, this is your chance to move on, to move out of that comfort zone that you've been in and that you find yourself in. Reach out to a friend first and tell them what you're thinking of doing. Somebody who's constructive, somebody who's positive, who'll support you and encourage you. That's very important. And then consider reaching out to a professional person who can help you take it to the next level. Set some goals around what you want to do, what you want to change. Is it professional or is it personal? Is it something in your career that you want to change? Is it something in your business? Or is it a personal, totally, really personal goal that you have for yourself? Whatever it is, and it can be in all categories. Reach out to someone who can help you get there. Now, I've 5 other questions for you. Ask yourself the following. What could I regret in 5 years' time? 2029. What could you be regretting? What are you already regretting? When I ask you that question, what do you immediately think about? What could I regret in 5 years' time? The next question. What's my purpose? Can I define it and tap into it? What do you get excited about? What do you feel passionate about? What do you feel really happy about when you're doing it, when you're even thinking about it? What's my purpose? Can I define it and tap into it? And sometimes we need a bit of time, we need a bit of focus, and we need a bit of concentration. Some people cannot define what their purpose is. It comes up a lot for clients when I'm working with them. They're not quite sure which way they want to go, but they know they're not happy and content where they are. I see business owners sit down and they want to make some changes and improve the culture in their companies, but they're not quite sure which direction they want to go. And that comes by thrashing things out and identifying where your purpose is and what sets a fire under you. What are you really excited about? The next one is, what are your priorities and values today? And oftentimes, priorities are based on, I have to go to work, I have to get up at a certain time, I have to drive a certain distance, I have to be there by a certain time, I have to produce X, Y, Z. But in that same question I asked about, what are your values? And many of us, we don't look at our values often enough. And our values change as we get older and as we gain experience in life, in relationships, in business, in careers. Our values change. you need to figure out what are your top 10 values. I have a list of them here: accountability, action, authority, balance, belonging, courtesy, consistency, friendship, fun, happiness, hard work. Do some of them resonate with you? Loyalty, resourcefulness, your reputation. It's important to revisit them and to figure out what are the top 10 and then narrow that down. What are the first 5 values that you really stand by and they're really important to you? Truth, self-resilience, positivity, intelligence. There's a list there I have of them. I go through them with clients and I get them to pick out the 5 most important ones. And the next question after that is, are you living your life based on those values? Or are you living your life based on values that you had 20 or 30 or 15 years ago? Because our values do change as we get older, with experience. So that needs to be revisited very often. People change in relationships. Your partner, your wife, your husband, whatever the case may be. We all change. We have different priorities. Our values change. So that's a very important one. The next one, the second last one, is, what do I want my days to look like? What are you currently doing that you're not happy with? What are you currently doing that you don't want to do anymore? But you haven't actually given yourself the chance to look at what you might like to do, how you might like your days to look. And that's a very important question. How do I want my days to look? What could you do differently? What changes, what slight changes could you make that would make a big difference to you a couple of times a week? It's worth thinking about it. And the last one is, and one that we don't ask ourselves that much, is, what am I really good at? What are my strongest points? What am I really good at? So I'll just run through those questions again for you. What could I regret in 5 years' time? 5 years from today. What could you regret? What's my purpose? Can I define it and tap into it? What are my priorities and values today? And what do I want my days to look like? And the last one is, what am I really good at? Now, all those questions, there was 10 in total. What's stopping you from making the changes to improve your life? Fear of change, lack of motivation, uncertainty about where to start, and feeling overwhelmed by the effort required. There's 10 different questions there, but they're all centered around you and your responses. But we don't ask ourselves those questions enough. We come up with excuses and reasons why we can't make changes, why we can't do things differently, and more importantly, why we cannot stop doing stuff that's causing a lot of negativity and that's bringing us down. So part of a coaching process is, and reaching out to a coach, is because you want to start making some changes. And you want to take off that rucksack that's on your back that's full of excuses and full of self-limiting beliefs. Because that holds so much, or so many of us, back, and it stops us from doing what we're passionate about. living our life based on our 10 or 5 most important values. So with those questions today, and having given a bit of time to it, consider what your next move should be. How do you want your life to look in 5 years' time, in 5 months' time, in 5 weeks' time? What changes would you like to see? And don't forget that the only person that can do this is yourself. Identify someone who can support you and help you and work through those goals. But at the end of the day, it comes down to you, yourself. You put the bag down with the excuses in it. You get out of that comfortable zone, believe it or not. It is a comfortable zone where we get into that's full of excuses and poor me, and we're blaming everyone around us. And take the first step. Take responsibility for yourself. So that's my message from this podcast. If you want to make any changes, business, career, personal life, you start this new journey today. Reach out to someone. Set some goals around whatever areas that are most important to you. And start making that plan, that new journey for yourself. Sinead, Máirtín Óg, Mind Over Mountains podcast. Thanks for listening.